How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, it's one of them type of videos. You really need to go get yo shit. Now, while I'm stalling my royal family, I have a question that I want to ask the royal family. Do you really think Trump will be arrested? Now, Trump then put this alert out. He wants people to protest and act a complete fool in the streets of America. But gaze at this, my royal family. Why you getting your shit? Is there a possibility that Trump could be in this situation? Now they say he don't sleep much. Because when you lie and you do constant dirt, you start having illusions. Illusions. You truly do. But I have my own illusions too, Donald Trump. I know you listening to this. And if it go the way I would like it to go, this would be a joy to see your lying, dusty ass locked up. But we speak reality over here on the True Royal Family. And also, this will be on my backup channel, True Royal. It's been a minute since I've been over there, my Royal Family. And I thank y'all for your patience. So as we go on this journey, my Royal Family, and I'm using some banter as I go, because we have to humorize some of this stuff, because they continue to insult the royal family's intelligence, and they continue to insult America's intelligence, and I want to see who falls for the okie doke. So let's get into this first video. I have 3 videos that I'm going to show the royal family.
Tomorrow, New York prosecutors are investigating his involvement in that hush money payment. Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl has the latest.
Donald Trump is making another claim without any evidence, but this time the former president's words are sparking fears of violence. Over the weekend, Trump claimed he will be arrested tomorrow, indicted by the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg for charges related to hush money payment he made to porn star Stormy Daniels. ABC News has not verified his claims, and Trump hasn't said why he thinks he'll be arrested tomorrow. His own spokesman said they have received no notice from the DA's office. Trump has acknowledged paying Daniels $130,000, a payment he allegedly concealed in the final days of the 2016 campaign, violating election laws and falsifying documents. Trump originally denied any knowledge of the payment.
Did you know about the $130,000 payment to Stormy Daniels?
But his former lawyer, Michael Cohen, pleaded guilty to federal campaign finance violations in 2018, admitting to helping arrange the payment. Cohen tells George he's absolutely prepared to testify against Trump.
All the information that is needed in order to create the indictment, to get a prosecution and a conviction, is in the hands of the district attorney.
Bragg's office has not commented, but the DA told staff in an email obtained by ABC News, "We do not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York." Already Republicans are rushing to his defense.
Another politically charged prosecution directed at the former president of the United States.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is even vowing to investigate the Manhattan DA's office, although he is saying that people shouldn't go out to protest.
I don't think people should protest this, no. And I think President Trump, if you talk to him, he doesn't believe that either.
Thanks to Chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl, and there is much more to discuss on this, so let's bring in ABC's Jay O'Brien in Washington, along with investigative reporter Catherine Falders at the House GOP retreat in Orlando, and attorney Jeffrey Robbins for much more on this. Catherine, let's begin with you. The FBI is now warning state and local police about the potential for violence with these calls from Trump to protest. What's the latest there?
Well, we know that the FBI is monitoring this potential indictment of Trump, but what we've learned is that they don't believe that there's any plans for violence or criminal activity, Trevor, at this point. But we know that the rhetoric that Trump has been using has led to an increase in online chatter that could indicate violence in some form. The FBI says they're in touch with the Washington field offices, with the New York field offices, and will continue to work with state and local partners, of course, as this potential indictment is looming.
And it is looming. We do want to stress, I know from your reporting, Catherine, and for a number of people at ABC, it is almost certain that former President Trump, is not going to get arrested on Tuesday, but that indictment does appear to be somewhat imminent. So, Jeff, what charges could we expect to see and when?
Well, good morning, Trevor. It looks like the charge that people are contemplating, the DA's office is contemplating, is a charge of falsifying business records, which is a misdemeanor under New York law, with a kicker, with the intent to commit another crime, which turns it into a felony. It's a charge, a combined charge, which would carry up to 4 years in prison if the former president is convicted. It's an untested legal theory to some extent. It's a strong case factually, but it's not a slam dunk.
And Jay, you're in Washington, D.C. We heard from House Speaker Kevin McCarthy that he doesn't want people to protest if the former president is charged, and he said he doesn't think that the former president wants that either, even though he said it explicitly. How are lawmakers at large reacting to the former president's claim he'll be arrested and then his call for protest?
Well, we've heard criticism from a number of Republicans directed at the Manhattan District Attorney. You heard it from Kevin McCarthy. He spoke at the House GOP retreat. That's where Catherine is right now, again, saying that he doesn't want to see protests. But he also tweeted this after that news initially broke of Trump saying that he was expecting to be indicted. He tweeted that he's directing congressional committees to look into, and there it is on your screen, the possibility of federal funds being sent to some of these local prosecutors who might be prosecuting or at least investigating former President Trump. How that would play out in a congressional investigation is still unclear. But we've heard Republicans largely holding the line, criticizing this investigation as political. We heard the same kind of criticism from former Vice President Mike Pence in his interview with John Carl. We also just heard, and this is just breaking, from Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who's beginning some pressure from those in Trump world to respond to the possibility of a Trump indictment. He just held a press conference. He also, and I'm looking at what he said here, criticized the New York District Attorney, the Manhattan District Attorney, but then he makes this veiled swipe at Trump, and he says, I don't know what goes into paying hush money to a porn star to secure silence over some type of alleged affair. I just can't speak to that. And that is notable because DeSantis has, for the last few days, ignored some of these attempts and to pushes from Trump world to get him to respond. Now he is responding, criticizing the DA, but also taking that veiled swipe against Trump, Trevor.
Very interesting walk of the tightrope that we're seeing from a few of these Republicans. A lot of people were waiting to see what Governor DeSantis would say. Jeff, obviously these prosecutors are in New York. The former president is in Florida. If these charges were to come, how would that work with him being down there?
I think what will happen, Trevor, is you'll see an arrangement, an agreement whereby the former president will self-surrender in New York. That is to say, there's no basis to believe that he will be arrested. He certainly doesn't need to be arrested. I think the consensus is that he should not be arrested, but rather offered the opportunity to self-surrender. But that will involve coming to New York and being processed. And processed is a euphemism, among other things, for having what would be the most famous mugshot in the history of the world taken.
There is no doubt about that. And Catherine, of course, we know that former President Trump is the subject of several investigations, and that includes the probe into the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And former Vice President Mike Pence has said he is challenging parts of a subpoena to testify in that probe, but he did somewhat leave the door open to testifying about other matters, just not about January 6th. So how could that affect this investigation and other investigations at large?
No, well, look, I think the reality is that this is still moving through the courts. Mike Pence, of course, is challenging his own subpoena. We obtained exclusive details from that. They're asking him for a broad amount of information here, Trevor, about 16 different topic areas. But it's important to stress that Pence is challenging this on a different issue, the speech and debate clause, that he was acting as a member of the legislative branch. So we'll see, but it's not like he's going to be walking through the door here to the grand jury in the next week or two.
Well, my royal family, let me take this down.
Aaron Katursky with me here in New.
Let me take this all the way down. Pence is a damn fool. That's all I can say about that. Pence, Trump could have had you killed. and you still defending that demon. But that's the arena that he plays in. Let's continue, my royal family.
Of a possible indictment against former President Donald Trump over the weekend, the former president claimed he will be arrested tomorrow, although there is no evidence that that is going to happen and no official has said that that is true. Now he's facing criticism for calling on his supporters to protest, raising concerns that his words could lead to violence that are very similar to what happened on January 6th. We all remember that day. Robert Costa is outside Manhattan Criminal Court. Bob, good morning to you, and we understand that there may be additional testimony today.
Good morning, Gail. That's correct. The CBS News has learned that the grand jury may hear today from an additional witness, Bob Costello, a former legal advisor to Michael Cohen, a key witness in this investigation. We're told that Mr. Costello might question the credibility of Mr. Cohen, and this all comes after the fallout over the weekend from former President Trump's comments.
This is selective prosecution. If I were President Trump, I'd take this all the way to the damn Supreme Court.
Former President Donald Trump and his allies on the political and legal warpath over the weekend as Trump faces down a possible indictment in Manhattan Criminal Court. On Saturday, Trump claimed he will be arrested on Tuesday of next week and urged his supporters to protest and take our nation back. He then urged in a follow-up, "We must save America. Protest, protest, protest." CBS News has learned that some Trump allies privately debated over his call for protests.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol.
Since it has echoes of Trump's call for protests on January 6, 2021, the day the Capitol was attacked. In response to Trump's post, Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg told colleagues in an email that safety is the top priority, and we do not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York. Trump's potential 2024 rivals are also reacting. Former Vice President Mike Pence spoke out against any possible indictment in this case.
It just feels like a politically charged prosecution here.
And even some Republican critics of Trump say it could play to his political advantage.
A lot of the Democrats have misplayed this in terms of building sympathy for the former president.
The Manhattan District Attorney is investigating alleged hush money payments made to adult film star Stormy Daniels on Trump's behalf by his former attorney Michael Cohen at a crucial moment in the 2016 campaign. Trump denies any wrongdoing, but Cohen's lawyer Lanny Davis told CBS News his client testified truthfully to the grand jury earlier this month, and now it is in their hands.
If there was any political motivation to prevent the alleged affair with Stormy Daniels from coming out right before the election, and a jury is to conclude that there's any political motivation, then I think that's the key issue.
Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, tells CBS News that if charged, the Trump legal team will be very aggressive in combating the indictment and questioning its credibility and scope. They will also question the credibility of Michael Cohen, who was once charged with lying to Congress. Michael Cohen, though, will be here in New York today as a possible rebuttal witness before the grand jury. Gail.
All right, Bob, thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, my royal family, let me take this down. I have a tendency to overlap if anybody's new to both of my channels, because I like to get a fuller story. I chose not to read anything today because these videos actually speak for itself. But I thought this last video, and it's not very long, but it was just right. And check this out. Let's get into this last one. It's a little over 2 minutes.
Inquiries, but there are signs he may face charges in the first of those this week. For more, I want to talk to the reporter who perhaps knows Trump the best, senior political correspondent for the New York Times, Maggie Haberman, who has been awarded a Pulitzer Prize for her coverage of the former president. Maggie, behind the scenes, what can you tell us about how Trump is handling this situation?
Look, Jake, he's very anxious about the prospect of being indicted for a couple of reasons. Yes, two things can be true at once. He is aware that there are reasons to believe this could help him politically. We have heard a lot about this morning already, but he does not want to face getting arrested, which is what happens when you get indicted. You get fingerprinted, you get brought in, you have to ask for bail. None of that is something that he is excited about. So he and his folks, his political folks, are preparing for a huge blitz politically to push back on the Manhattan District Attorney. You saw that start yesterday, although I don't think that his Truth Social post yesterday morning calling for protests was part of a grand plan. He did it, and a bunch of his aides were surprised by it. But I do think that that is separate from what you're going to see legally. And while I know that his folks are suggesting this is a weak case, they don't actually know what the evidence is. What it is trivial compared to the other inquiries. That doesn't mean there won't be a conviction, and they have to be mindful of that.
Trump called on his supporters, as you noted, to protest and, quote, take our nation back on that Truth Social post. Obviously, the last time Donald Trump called for his supporters to rally, it resulted in insurrection at the Capitol. Does he have any concern about violence?
No, this is not something that, he expresses enormous concern about to anyone. That doesn't mean people around him are not concerned about what he's saying about protest, and they are, because, as you know well, he is still under investigation. One of these inquiries by the Justice Department is about the events leading up to January 6th and his efforts to stay in power, and there have been lots of people, hundreds, arrested in connection with that attack on the Capitol. So this is not something he voices a whole lot of concern about, but it is absolutely something folks in his world are mindful of, that this is going to keep coming up, especially as he pushes this.
Well, he's anxious. He's anxious, and this fool still want people to support him. Now, when they was up in D.C. shitting all over the state capitol and all that stuff, he pretty much said that they was fools for doing what they were doing, and he did not support them or back them whatsoever. Now, even many of them got a slap on the wrist. Now, I often say on my channel to pay attention to language, and Trump don't pay attention to language. He's all up in his feelings. An indictment. See, an indictment in his world means a full-fledged arrest. I don't even think, my personal opinion, I don't even think they're going to do nothing. This is nothing more than a dog and pony show. And I would be utterly surprised, and I will come back and even say it. I don't even think they will even indict him. They're implying certain things. But an indictment and an arrest means completely two different things in our world and in their world. But for the sake of an argument, my royal family, if the whole thing fully went down, this is what Trump would end up looking like in one of them jokers. And he would blend in quite well. Now, Trump is nothing more than a walking criminal. And he has pushed the envelope till he can't push it no further, and he's astounded what he gets away with. And then he has the nerves to be anxious, and then he has the nerves to want someone to support him. Well, we see some of his supporters, and they rub shoulder to shoulder with him. But those folks, the ones that are listening to me and the ones that are totally against me, you get out there in them streets, act a complete fool, get arrested. What have you accomplished? Trump don't give a damn about you. Trump gonna be warm in his bed. He ain't worried about y'all. It's nothing more than an ego booster, and it thrills him to see idiots in the streets of America protest for this complete fool. So we shall see, my royal family, in a matter of hours, what's going to really go down in Trump's world. Like I said, absolutely nothing. After all these investigations, after all these hearings and all of that, nothing. They're wasting our time. They're wasting our tax-paying money at the end of the day. Remember that. Remember who paid these people to do a so-called job. You know, everything Trump has done, and he's been blatant and unforgiving about how he get down. But we shall see what the divine hand allows in Trump's world. I have had a glimpse what Trump gonna deal with in the spirit world. I've spoke of that. You know, if you really want to know, you have to come behind the scenes. I'm not gonna keep speaking on that over and over. So, my royal family, do what you do best. Render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.